Я абсолютно одна дома, этот человек стоит неподвижно уже час. Он не шевелится и не разговаривает. Я не знаю, вызывать ли полицию или что мне делать.
Watch out, you better not die, you better not crash, I'm telling you why, 'cause you told your wife you're at work.
Yeah.
People are saying all of this Diddy commotion isn't the thing we should be looking at. This is all the distraction.
Okay.
Literally the same time Diddy got arrested, something huge happened just now, and it's around 23andMe.
The DNA test?
It's a DNA ancestry company. Takes your saliva, they test it, and it shows your ancestry. Well, what do they have? Your DNA sample of pretty much everyone in the world that wanted to find out their ancestry.
Yeah, so what happened?
When Diddy got arrested, when this whole commotion is on the rise, just so happens every single board member of 23andMe quit all at the same time.
Whoa.
So check this out. There's hella theories going on. Did you know the CEO? It was the wife of the CEO of YouTube and Google. The wife owned 23andMe. The husband owned Google. Theory goes, the reason all of those board members left is because there's some things going on that are going to be very unethical in the future of the company. Okay, they have all of our data, even DNA data. On top of that, they have Google search engine. They have every single piece of information about you, including your biochemistry. Now, they're so fucking smart. What's the future of commerce where they can sell you things and you have to pay for it? What's one thing that you'll spend all your money for because if you don't, it's over?
Food and water, yeah.
Health. They have every single person's DNA. They can look at all the diseases where they can give you a cure. And one of the cures they want to sell you is, you ever hear of being John Malkovich?
No.
That's a trippy fucking... No. I didn't even finish it because it's so trippy.
Yeah, what is it about?
It's weird, bro.
How?
So it pretty much takes a concept of, imagine an office space and your whole job is to just pretty much surveil someone's mind.
Hmm?
Yeah. So it's really weird. It's really like mind fucky.
Yeah.
But what would happen is he went into this crevice in his office and he noticed, man, there's like a poster here. He took down the poster and it's a tunnel.
What?
The tunnel led to this door and he had to like crawl into it, right?
Yeah.
The moment you open the door, he's in this room, but one of the walls in the room is just a whole screen that's the vision of the actor John Malkovich.
Wait, what?
Yeah. So what
I don't get
happens
it.
is he's seeing just his whole life
Of him?
of another guy.
Wait, I don't get that.
So, okay. Imagine your consciousness
Okay.
people can access by walking into a room. That's what happened to that guy.
A
he
random ass person that he...
yeah, just a random person. But it just so happened to be like John Malkovich, the actor.
Okay. Damn.
But it's trippy because what happens in the movie, this is a spoiler, what happens in the movie, John Malkovich ends up going into that room and seeing through John Malkovich. But I'm pretty sure it like fucks up his mind because how can you experience yourself?
Saw is back, baby. It is coming back to theaters to celebrate the 20th anniversary of the release of the original film. Get your hands and feet on tickets now. But not only that, they are doing a Saw screening in LA where some of the cast are coming back to do a Q&A before the film. Tobin Bell, Jigsaw, of course, is gonna be there. We're even getting Carrie Elways, Dr. Gordon, Lee Wanell, aka Adam, also the writer of the movie. And then, of course, the birthday boy himself, Billy, who's turning 20 years old this year. And a little birdie told me that Jigsaw's favorite barista from Saw X might be showing up as well. I'm so excited for the Q&A. I'm starting to get questions ready of what I want to ask them. Like, what do we want to know? There's so much going on. I'm debating on bringing a piece of Dr. Gordon with me. Don't know. I'm thinking about it. But yes, I'm so excited. This franchise is still going so strong after 20 years. Saw X was an absolute masterpiece, in my opinion. The original Saw is a masterpiece, and I'm so excited for it. And I'm so excited for Saw 11 next year. This is a really good time to be a Saw fan.
It's spooky season, motherfuckers. I'm Chuck. I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit the like button, give me a follow, and this is day 2 of 31 spooky creators that you should follow. It's not possible to have too much horror content. And if you're looking for more, this is the place to come to because I'm using my platform to shine the light on up-and-coming creators that deserve your attention. So if you like horror mixed in with a little bit of humor, I got a special one for you today. This is Horror Junkies Official. And this is Big Mike, and this is an account that you absolutely must pay attention to. Big Mike is one of the most genuine people that I've met on this app, and his coverage and reviews are fantastic. He also has an enthusiasm and a sense of humor and horror knowledge that is off the chart. He also has a very luxurious beard. I mean, look at that. It's almost like he's holding a regal creature right underneath his chin. I'm not telling you what to do, but go over to @HorrorJunkiesOfficial, go through his content, and I promise you, you're gonna fall in love with Big Mike and Horror Junkies Official. That's day 2 of 31 spooky creators that you should follow. I'm Chuck. I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit that like button. Give me a follow.
Do you know the theory behind why restaurants give you bread before your meal?
Like, there's actually a theory?
So when you go into some restaurants, they will either give you a free basket of chips or a basket of bread, right?
Yes.
But what if I told you it's not the restaurants being nice? There's actually a dark reason why they give you this bread. So recently, scientists released a study where they found out how bread is digested inside your body. It only takes 15 minutes for the sugar from the bread to digest her. And we all know that bread is like sugar for the body. When the sugar is in your body, it gives you a boost of energy. Then, once the sugar starts to leave your system, we start to feel tired. And we also want to eat more food, especially sugary food, to replace that low. So the theory is that the restaurants give you bread to boost your energy, because it actually makes you hungrier later on in the meal and makes you order more food or dessert.
Oh, okay.
There have also been studies that found out that restaurants that give out bread sell 90% more desserts after their meal.
Hey, 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 sit, 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 Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Subhanallah. Subhanallah, la ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah.
So this girl says something weird happened to her. The weekend came and her best friend spent the night at her house. They spent most of the night talking about paranormal stories and their own experiences, and then they started listening to La Mano Peluda. While listening to that, they said that they both started feeling really weird and scared, and they ended up turning it off and just agreed to go to sleep. Mind you, that was the weekend, and then Monday came. The girl says that she's home alone and she hears her friend's voice calling her from another bedroom in her home. She thought to herself that was really weird, but she gets up, goes to the bedroom where she heard her friend's voice, and nobody is in there. So 2 days pass, and again she hears her friend's voice. She hears her friend call her name and say, "Hey, come." Again, she gets up, goes to the room where she hears her friend's voice, and there's nothing in there. Another week comes, and again she hears her friend's voice, but this time it's stronger. This time she actually responds back like, "What?" And she gets up, she goes to check, there's nothing. there. There are people who believe that when entities want your attention and they realize that they've got it, it is now hard to let go and you are making them stronger. The following day after she experiences this, she is sitting on her bed and her bedroom door opens. It is her best friend at the door about to walk in, and she screams so loud and closes her eyes, and when she opens them back up, she's gone. She gets her phone, dials her best friend's number, and her friend picked up the phone. She tells her friend on the phone, "Hey, I need to talk to you. Something weird is happening." And when the weekend came, she tells her the story. Remember that weekend where we stayed the night and we were listening to scary stories and listening to La Mano Peluda, and then we got scared? Well, that following Monday, I heard your voice, but it sounded far away. This week, it was a lot stronger, and I talked back to it, and then it appeared in front of me, and it looked like you. There was something really eerie about her though, and I knew it wasn't you, and that's why I needed to tell you. And she asked her friend, "Has anything happened to you since that day?" And her friend was like, "No, nothing." And she's like, "What? That's so weird. Why is it happening to me?" So the following Monday, she gets a phone call from her best friend. "Hey, oh my god, you're not gonna believe this, but I think I just heard your voice in my house. Was it you?" And she's like, "No, it wasn't me. I haven't gone to your house. I'm at home." And the girl who this had already happened to, she was like, "Please tell me you're pranking me. Like, I cannot deal with this right now." And her friend is like, "No, it sounded just like you described, a little far away." By this point, her best friend had heard her voice for the second time, and it was just a little bit closer, but without even thinking about it, she responded to the voice. She said, "What do you want? Just leave me alone." And in that very moment, because of what her friend had told her happened, she knew that she screwed up and she was about to see something that looked like her friend. She was so scared, so in that moment what she did is she went and told the story to her guy best friend. After that, nothing happened in her home, and she didn't end up seeing her friend the same way her friend saw her and got really scared. It was almost as if whoever listens to this story starts experiencing these paranormal things.
The fuck is that? The fuck is that in the woods? Hello? Hello?
In my mom's closet, we heard a hollow spot in the floor. So we ripped up the carpet and found an orange door. Which led to a safe in the ground. Now all we have to do is figure out a code.
Give me that scoop.
The sick and twisted world of polygamous cult leader Warren Jeffs married 85 wives, many of whom were only children. He abused, controlled, and enslaved his own following, all under the guise of this being their religion and him being the self-proclaimed prophet. And when they finally raided his church, everything seemed normal until they got to the 4th floor. Warren was born to one of his father's 65 wives, and his father, Rulon Jeffs, was the head of the FLDS church. This is the fundamentalist Mormon church, and I'm no expert on Mormonism, but from my research, the mainstream Mormon church has very little in common with FLDS. FLDS is a cult, or at least it is now. When the mainstream Mormon church banned polygamy in 1890 and overall just became less strict, different branches and groups of Mormonism formed, including that of the FLDS church. And when Warren's father died, Warren declared himself the new leader of the FLDS church, a self-proclaimed prophet, and began to rule over his following in a dictatorship. What was once a religion based on purity and goodness was now a place of horrific abuse, control, and enslavement, where Warren was able to dangle eternal damnation in the faces of his followers. Either obey me or you will suffer for eternity, since as the prophet, Warren had complete control over everything, including whose souls would go to heaven or whose souls would go to hell. And this was something that was drilled into the brains of his followers since birth. Warren's followers all lived together in a community on the border of Arizona and Utah where nothing they owned actually belonged to them. None of their belongings, none of the homes that they lived in or the wives that they were given. This was all property of the church and could easily be taken away from them. Warren would even ban any man that he saw as a threat or competition to him, even if they were simply more attractive than him. And when Warren would ban these men from the community that they've lived in their entire lives, everyone they know is in this community, they were done so given zero belongings, zero money. Families were torn apart. Elderly men were being banned from their community after being married for 50 years, and their wives were supposed to pretend that they were just dead. They weren't allowed to talk about them anymore. Warren also banned people from working outside the church community, and he also banned children from going to public school anymore. He himself would teach the children his own version of history, where he himself was president of the United States. Adults and even some of the children were forced to work for the church, and this would be hard labor, and they were given no money, so they were literally enslaved. Warren actually banned many things, pretty much anything that would bring anyone joy. So just to name a few, he banned holidays, dancing, sports, the color red. He banned seasoning your food, laughter. He banned laughter, and he also banned having pets. And if you already had a pet, a puppy or a kitten that you loved, well, it would be killed. So even before Warren became prophet, the FLDS church did have a history of children being forced into marriage, but under Warren's rule, it became even more ramped up. 9-year-old girls, 12-year-old girls, 14-year-old girls being forced into marrying creepy old men, their own family members, or even Warren himself. Actually, so many young girls were being forced to marry their own family members and then get pregnant by their family members that so many babies were being born with birth defects that were unfortunately not survivable, that they had an entire graveyard on the church community just for babies. A baby graveyard. And these young girls that were being forced into marriage against their will, their entire worldview was based on modesty. And they had never been taught anything about intimacy before their wedding day. And then were being told by these creepy old men, or even their own cousins, to remove their clothes and perform these dirty acts on them. It was world-shattering. And Warren himself actually took many wives because in his church, in his religion, you could not go to heaven unless you had at least 3 wives. And the more wives you had, the better afterlife you would be given. And when Warren's father died, he actually forced many of his father's wives to marry him, which was even strange in this cult and religion, because in this religion, in this cult, Warren's father's wives were all considered Warren's mothers. So in the eyes of the people that belong to this following, this will be the same thing as you and me marrying our biological mothers or fathers. It was the same thing to them. Warren ended up taking at least 85 wives and having at least 60 children, and his youngest wife that we know of was only 12 years old. If it's not already completely obvious to you guys, in this cult, women had zero power. They were merely used as currency and a symbol of power. Also, of course, this is a doomsday cult. Warren would always tell his following that the world is going to end next week, next month, next year, and if you want to get into heaven, you must obey every single thing I do, of course. Eventually, Warren opened up his new church compound in Texas that he called Yearning for Zion, where only his favorite people could go and live with him there. But this would be the first signs of trouble for Warren. Some of his followers actually began to leave the church, and when men wanted to leave, that was no problem for Warren, because if there's less men in the church, that means there's more wives for him. But when young women began to escape the church, that was an issue, because Warren was the sole decider on who got married. And when some of these women did escape and go to the police, Warren was actually put on the FBI's most wanted list for being the ruler of all these children being forced into marriage and being forced into pregnancy. Warren went on the run, and he wasn't found and arrested for over a year. And he was found in a routine traffic stop, actually comedically doing all the things that he told his followers were sinful. He was wearing, modern clothes that were revealing. He was wearing shorts. He was eating fast food and also driving a red car, which is silly because remember, he banned the color red. So Warren was finally arrested, and he was found guilty on 2 counts of being an accomplice to the essay of a child and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. And then authorities got a warrant to raid that Zion compound in Texas. And when they first entered the compound, it looked completely normal. At first, it just looked like any other church until they got to the 4th floor. Look at these clips and tell me it does not just fill you with anxiety. It's completely white from floor to ceiling, completely empty, like it's something out of the back rooms. Until they stumbled upon a room where the only furniture was a bed. In this room was also a vault that looks like something from a bank. They drill into this vault, and behind this locked room, Warren kept records of everything. Every child he forced into marriage, every pregnancy where a child was forced to carry another child. But they also found some disturbing recordings. Warren recorded him essaying multiple children in that white room with the bed, girls, boys, his own nephew. There was one boy who ended up unaliving himself after the abuse. It's horrific. In these recordings, children would be crying as Warren tells them, "You must obey if you want to go to heaven." All of this abuse done in the name of God. And for all of these new charges, Warren was sentenced to life in prison. He won't be up for parole until he's at least 100 years old. And this is going to disgust you. Warren is still the leader of his church. His followers that did not leave him when he was sentenced to prison are now more loyal to him than ever, seeing him as a martyr jailed for his religious beliefs. He still preaches to his followers over the phone. He still rules them, has complete control over them behind bars, and even compares what he's going through to Jesus's crucifixion. Behind bars, Warren has become even more strict. He's actually banned married couples from sleeping together and from most men from having children. Warren has chose seed barriers, and these are the only men that are allowed to sleep with women and have children. So he will have a married woman sleep with one of these seed barriers while she holds her husband's hand, and that's the only way women are able to get pregnant. This is gonna haunt my nightmares for a really, really long time, and thank you so much for the person who tagged me in a clip of this case. You know who you are. Thank you for the nightmares. If you watched the end of the video, thank you so much. Let me know your thoughts because I know they're gonna be crazy. Let me know what case you want to see me cover next, and I love you guys so, so much. You have no idea. I will see you guys tomorrow with another case.
Like cries for help.
The CDC has stopped taking my phone calls. Contacted FEMA. Help hasn't arrived. I'm making this video. What is that on your neck? And I'm going to show the world what happened here. What's on my neck?
Oh my God, Alex.
Out of everything that happened in Clarage, there was only one major question that rose from it all.
Toxic soup of chemicals could produce certain mutations. What's also concerning is the level of chicken excrement in the bay.
How did an outbreak of this scale even begin?
I mean, if the numbers you gave me are correct, the amount of steroids and that amount of manure could be accelerating growth by 50, 60 times. That's both in size and quantity.
And this Samothua zigzua.
Last year, they found a 2.5-foot one trying to burrow its way into a submarine. They thought it was a dead whale.
But are you making this up? This looks Photoshopped.
No, it's real.
These 6 movies really got under my skin. It's October, so there's a lot of people talking about horror movies. And I got 6 underrated bangers for you. I'm Chuck. I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit that like button, give me a follow, and this is 6 criminally underrated horror films for spooky season. The Addiction is about a student that is trying to get her doctorate degree. She gets a new perspective on good and evil after she's bitten by a vampire in New York City. This is a vampire film I never hear anybody talk about, and this is a slept-on banger. Thesis is about a girl that's doing a documentary about violence. When she comes across a snuff film about a girl that was brutally murdered and realizes that she was a former student at her school. Thesis is shocking, haunting, disturbing, brutal, and it will get under your fucking skin. Dust Devil is about a woman that's trying to escape from her abusive husband that encounters a mysterious hitchhiker. But this mysterious hitchhiker is a shapeshifter that preys on the unloved and people that are outcast from society. This is an absolute fucking banger of a hidden gem that I've never seen anybody talk about, Dust Devil. I think Fire in the Sky is the greatest alien abduction movie to ever be made. This movie rips from beginning to end, and it's unnerving and frightening to me, and I still think about it all the time. Lake Mungo will be incredibly divisive because it's a divisive film that people either love it or hate it, no gray area in between. I personally love it because it's about the events and the aftermath of a family whose child was drowned. This one's spooky, creepy, unnerving, got under my skin, and has a climax you will not forget. We Are What We Are is about a family that lives by a certain set of customs. And once stranded at home in the middle of a vicious, ferocious downpour, 2 sisters must learn how to live those family customs. This one will keep you guessing and keep you on your toes, and it is another one that is unnerving and frightening, but an absolute banger. Let me know in the comments if you've seen any of these. These are 6 criminally underrated horror films for spooky season. I'm Chuck. I'd love to be your movie guy. Hit that like button. Give me a follow.
Peace out. I'll give you guys a little bonus. Alright, that's about as raunchy as I'm gonna get.
Oh my god. Hey guys, lunch is ready. Oh my god.
Honey, pack your shit! The kids are wearing their matching tracksuits and staring at the wall again!
Ma.
Liam, come here. Liam, come right now. What is it? Okay, I'm calling your mom. Just stay right here.
I'll get you this. Things that bother you, they never bother me. I'm happy and fine. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time. Haven't got a lot, I don't need a lot. Coffee's only a dime. Living in the sunlight, loving in the moonlight, having a wonderful time.
'Tis the season, let's do it. Trick or Treat is an anthology that takes place in Warren Valley, Ohio on Halloween night, and all of the segments are told in a non-linear fashion but all connect in some way.
And at the center of all of these stories is our friend Sam here, and Sam wants to make sure that everybody is respecting the traditions of Halloween. So in our first segment, we have this couple, Emma and Henry. They're returning home from a Halloween party. And we can tell that Emma very clearly fucking hates Halloween. Like, she's just miserable. She wants to take all of their decorations down immediately that night. And she makes the mistake of blowing out her jack-o'-lantern before midnight, which Henry tells her is against superstition. Emma doesn't give a fuck. She tells Henry to go inside. She's taking down all the decorations. She'll be in a little bit. But we can see as she's doing this, somebody is stalking her from the tree line. And as she is taking the decorations down, she is attacked and offed. And Henry comes out to find her corpse hung up with the Halloween decorations. In the next segment, we meet Charlie, who is going around just smashing jack-o'-lanterns, stealing candy. And he steals candy from the wrong doorstep because it turns out that this is Principal Wilkins and he comes home to catch Charlie in the act. So Steve Wilkins gives Charlie a chocolate bar that he eats and sits there with him and tells him all about the traditions and the history of Halloween. And all of a sudden, Charlie starts to choke. And Wilkins is like, oh yeah, there's one other tradition. Always check your candy. And it turns out he has poisoned the candy and Charlie dies. So Wilkins drags Charlie's body inside, and as he does, he's distracted by trick-or-treaters, one of which is little Sam. Eventually, he drags Charlie to the backyard and throws him in this pre-dug hole. But he first gets interrupted, first by his son Billy, yes, this man has a whole-ass child, and then by his old, miserable neighbor, Mr. Krieg, and his dog. As he's dragging Charlie in here, we see that there's already another body, and it's not fully dead, it comes to life. But Steve manages to off him before the neighbor or his son find out what's going on. As he's walking back inside, he sees Mr. Krieg in the window crying out for help. Steve just completely ignores him and goes back inside. When he gets inside, Billy asks if he's going to help him carve the jack-o'-lantern now because he needs help with the eyes. So Wilkins grabs a knife and takes Billy into the basement. He stands behind Billy, lifts the knife, and plunges it into something we don't see. We assume it to be Billy. But when the camera zooms out, we see that it was not Billy. It was Charlie's decapitated head. And that's their jack-o'-lantern that they're about to carve. In the next segment, we meet this group of teenagers that is trick-or-treating. So we have Macy, who's kind of like the ringleader, Schrader, Sarah, and Chip, and they're all collecting jack-o'-lanterns. But when they realize they don't have enough, they go to Rhonda's house. Now, Rhonda's kind of supposed to be like the nerdy outcast, and she very much respects the traditions of Halloween. It's all she fucking talks about. So Rhonda goes with the group to this quarry where Macy recounts the story of the Halloween school bus massacre. Years ago in this town, there were these 8 kids who were disabled and their parents became resentful and ashamed of them. So one day the parents got together and bribed their school bus driver to get rid of them. So the bus driver drives them to this quarry and we see that all the kids are shackled to their seats. And the bus driver goes through the row and distributes candy before he's about to throw this bus off the quarry. But before he's able to do that, one of the kids is able to slip out of his cuffs and get into the driver's seat. But instead of driving away, he accidentally goes forward and drives the bus off the cliff with the driver on board. Macy says that the driver was never heard from again, though through the flashback we see that he survived. And she also says that the school bus was never found. So Macy says the whole point in them being here is they're going to leave 8 jack-o'-lanterns by the quarry as a gift to the 8 victims. So 3 of them go and do that, and then Chip and Rhonda are left behind waiting. And as the 2 of them get down to the quarry, they start to hear screaming. When Rhonda goes to investigate, she is attacked by these zombie-like creatures. So she makes a run for it. She passes Chip's body, which is being eaten. Rhonda falls and gets hurt and starts crying, at which point it's revealed that this is just a prank. They just are fucking with her. So Schrader is comforting her. Macy is super annoyed and is like, fine, I guess we're leaving. And she kicks the one remaining lit jack-o'-lantern into the lake. Big mistake, because as she does this, the zombie version of the kids rise from the lake and attack them. So the group runs back to the elevator that brought them down to the lake, and Rhonda is in it and has it locked. They look at her and scream for help and beg her to let them on, and she just presses up and fucking leaves them to be killed. As Rhonda's walking away, we hear the screams below, and she looks up and sees Sam. The 2 of them kind of give each other a nod, and he lets her live because she fucking respects Halloween. The next segment is about this group of women in their 20s, and they're getting ready to go to a party. They're getting their costumes together. They're looking for dates. Lori is kind of the center of this because they're trying to get her to put herself out there. They make comments about how she's a virgin, and she just seems to not give a fuck and not want anything to do with this. So eventually the 3 of them find dates and head to the party, and Lori's like, okay, I'm going to stay behind and find somebody to come with me. As she's left behind in the town, she encounters this hooded man, and we had seen this man earlier kill a woman in an alleyway, but we don't know who he is. So So this hooded man comes out of the woods and attacks Lori as she's on the way to the party. And we cut to the party, which is this like bonfire in the middle of the woods, and we see this figure wearing this red cloak drop out of the tree. So we assume that it's Lori. But when the girls at the party go to turn the body over, they see that it's the vampire. And he reveals himself to be Stephen Wilkins. So all the girls laugh at him as he lays there terrified with his legs broken. And as he looks around, he starts to see the dead bodies of the other men that they brought there as their dates. And all of a sudden, all of the women at this party start to shed their skin and reveal that they are all fucking werewolves. So Lori gets on top of Steve and tells him it's my first time and transforms into a werewolf and devours him. And we see Sam sitting on a log nearby watching the chaos. And then we get to our final segment, which revolves around Mr. Krieg, who was the neighbor we met earlier. We see that he is just a very miserable old man. Anytime trick-or-treaters come to his door, he scares them off. But then weird shit starts to happen in his house, and at one point he goes out front to see all of these jack-o'-lanterns in his front yard. He starts to hear footsteps upstairs and goes to investigate. And he finds a lit jack-o'-lantern and all of these Halloween greetings written on the wall, and that's where he encounters Sam. A struggle ensues between the two of them, and Krieg manages to unmask Sam, and it's revealed that he looks like this. During the struggle, Mr. Krieg bangs on his window for help, which is what we had seen earlier. Krieg manages to shoot Sam multiple times and thinks that he's killed him. But Sam comes back to life and attacks Krieg again and tries to stab him with his half-bitten lollipop. But instead, he stabs a candy bar that had fallen on his lap. And because of this, Krieg has technically complied with the tradition of handing out Halloween candy, which he was refusing to do before. So that satisfies Sam, who walks away eating the candy bar. We then zoom in on Krieg's fireplace where we had seen him burning some photos earlier, and it's revealed that Krieg was the school bus driver. And we see pictures of him with all the kids burning. But it doesn't end there for Mr. Krieg. So he's all bandaged up and he goes to his front porch. And he looks out and sees some of the other characters whose stories have already unfolded. So he sees Rhonda pulling a wagon with jack-o'-lanterns. He sees Billy sitting on his front porch. He sees Lori and her friends driving by laughing. And he sees Emma and Henry coming home because they live across the street. And he sees Sam watching Emma putting her jack-o'-lantern out early. So he was the one watching from the tree lines, and of course he was the one that killed Emma. So Krieg goes back inside, but he gets a knock on his door. And when he answers it, he comes face to face with the undead kids of the school bus massacre, which of course we now know he was involved in. So they've come to seek their revenge, and we see them closing in on him as he screams and the movie ends.